Hello everyone and welcome to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. We are back with another Legends book review, this time on the spiritual successor to the Darth Bane trilogy, Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. Now James Luceno is another one of the greats when it comes to Star Wars literature, although I'm not so much a fan of his writing. I have read many of his books that I just really didn't like because the writing style felt too dry for me. Darth Plagueis, however, I feel to be the exception, as it is, in my eyes, an exceptional novel. The story is so fascinating, and seeing how it plays into the Phantom Menace is one of the best connections from book to film that I've ever seen. But let's dive right into the story. As always, there are spoilers ahead for those who have not read the book, so I highly recommend reading it before going any further. And if you have any Legends books that you'd like to see a review on, leave a comment down below. Darth Plagueis begins decades before the Phantom Menace, with Plagueis and his master Darth Tenebros examining the Cortosis supply on the planet of Baldemnik, which is already a great callback to the Darth Bane trilogy, as Path of Destruction opened up with Bane being a Cortosis miner. The Cortosis on Baldemnik is being mined, and neither the Jedi nor the Republic know about the project. Tenebros is very interested in the Cortosis as it has strong resistance to lightsabers, and is wanting to use it in his plans to take over the Republic with an empire ruled by the Sith. But during the mining there is an explosion, causing debris from the roof of the cave to collapse. Plagueis seizes the opportunity now and uses the Force to throw the debris atop his master, making it look like an accident so that he could rush to his master's side looking concerned. But Plagueis instead reveals his plan to his master, as Plagueis wants to end the rule of two, breaking Tenebros' neck, but not before trying to manipulate the midichlorians in Tenebros' body to see if he could prolong his master's life. Unfortunately, he dies before Plagueis can complete his experiment. Plagueis then leaves the mines and stows himself away aboard a ship known as the Woebegone, and after being discovered, Plagueis slaughters the entire crew of the ship, keeping only the droid 114D, after asking it a series of medical questions and realizing that the droid may be of use to him in his experiments. Plagueis then returns to his home world of Moonalin, to where he takes on the outside persona of Higo Damask, CEO of Damask Holdings, where he goes into a meeting with leaders of companies and cartels. Higo confronts the members of the Subtext Mining Corporation, as it was their mining droid that was responsible for Tenebros' death, angered that the explosion could have killed both of them and the Sith would have gone extinct by way of pure accident. The members are able to talk their way out of death when they explain to Higo that there is a large amount of plasma that can be found underneath the world of Naboo, which would turn a huge profit for Damask Holdings. After the meeting, Plagueis leaves and is confronted by a Bith Sith known as Darth Venomous. Darth Venomous was a backup apprentice that Tenebros was training in secret in the event that Plagueis became a failed apprentice. But with Tenebros gone, Venomous wanted to challenge Plagueis, but Plagueis easily defeated Venomous and makes Venomous swear his allegiance to him. Plagueis then forces Venomous to poison himself, as he would now have access to a live specimen for his experiments of manipulating midichlorians. With this, Plagueis was one step closer to discovering the secret of immortal life, which would allow him to rule forever. Back on Naboo, the Trade Federation and Damask Holdings begin a bid for Bon Tapalo to be king of the planet. With Tapalo as king, he would be able to open the planet to trade, so that Damask and the Trade Federation would receive the plasma from the planet. During his time on Naboo, Plagueis became drawn to a young boy who shared some of Plagueis' ideals. Palpatine was wanting to work against his father, who felt that Naboo should remain an isolated world, working outside of the Republic, and seeing just how much information Palpatine had, Plagueis decided to take him under his wing as a way to get information on how the campaign for Tapalo was going. At the same time, Palpatine was seeing Plagueis as a real father figure, even while knowing that he was being manipulated. The constant time that Palpatine spent with Plagueis grabbed his father's attention, who then attempted to stop Palpatine from seeing him, and as a result, Plagueis ordered Palpatine to kill his entire family. Palpatine went through with it and returned to Plagueis to tell him what he had done. Plagueis, full of pride from hearing this news, revealed himself to Palpatine as a Sith Lord, and quickly took Palpatine as his apprentice, naming him Darth Sidious. Plagueis trained Sidious in the dark side for 11 years, while Sidious also worked his way up through the political ranks of Naboo, becoming its ambassador throughout the galaxy. And with the help of his allies Kinman Doriana and Sate Pestage, Palpatine arranged for the assassination of Naboo's senator, Vidar Kim. With Vidar dead, Palpatine was appointed the new senator of Naboo, but Plagueis' plan was not yet complete, as he must continue with his plans of manipulating midichlorians, which led Plagueis to the backwater cloning world known as Kamino. At this point, Palpatine wished to know more about the dark side, more than what Plagueis would teach him. So Palpatine headed to the planet of Dathomir, where a strange Dathomirian woman approached him and gave him an infant child, Zabrak. The woman said that the child's name was Maul, and Palpatine sent him to the remote world of Mustafar, where he could be nurtured in the dark side, knowing that at such a young age, he would become a full-fledged warrior Sith. As Palpatine and Plagueis continued to jump through the political ranks, Plagueis was attacked by assassins and was badly injured, but Plagueis was still able to fight off and kill most of the assassins before Palpatine and Pesage arrived to assist him. Realizing that this attempt was made by Palpatine's political rival Pax's team, Palpatine planned his revenge. With great speed and without being seen, Palpatine moved through Team's building during his own ceremony, killing Pax's team and all of his guests, leaving no witnesses or survivors. But the wounds caused to Plagueis had made him more cautionary. From that moment on, he was forced to wear a transpirator to ensure he survived, just as his master Darth Tenebros wore. Plagueis slowly began to look as if he'd gone insane. Worried about his attack, he began to become more aware of his surroundings and swore off sleep in hopes of keeping himself safe, and putting all of his efforts towards the manipulation of midichlorians, which he almost found a breakthrough in when he successfully killed Darth Venomous and brought him back to life. It wasn't for long though, as Venomous then died suddenly again, never returning to life. We then got to see what I consider the most interesting part of the book, as it all takes place during the events of the Phantom Menace, with the big finale being the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. The night before Palpatine was elected as Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, he spent the evening with Plagueis, rehearsing his acceptance speech over and over, getting the smallest details just right, and as he did, Palpatine continuously filled Plagueis' glass with wine, getting him completely intoxicated to the point of falling asleep. Realizing his master had passed out, Palpatine decided to leave the apartment. But just as he went to open the door, he saw his opportunity and seized it. Palpatine turned from the door and filled Plagueis with a blast of Force lightning running through his transpirator and throughout his entire body. Plagueis was hit with burst after burst of Force lightning until he dropped to the floor dead, leaving Palpatine as Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith. This is truly one of the greatest Star Wars books ever written. While the in-universe science that Plagueis discusses throughout makes absolutely no sense to me, the story, the politics, and the action make up for it in every way imaginable. I think one of the best parts about this book is that most of it takes place during Episode 1, and when you go back and watch the movie, you can clearly see scenes where Plagueis was alive and on Coruscant, even though he was never on screen. I especially love that Palpatine shows off Maul to Plagueis as an assassin, and that Palpatine speaks to a young Padme Nabiri and convinces her to get involved in politics, or my personal favorite, during this scene in The Phantom Menace. Plagueis is actually spying on Palpatine and Maul from a building off in the distance, and in doing so sees that Palpatine calls Maul his apprentice, realizing that Palpatine was plotting against him. All of this doesn't even hold a candle to the fact that Plagueis rushed into the apartment complex where Padme was staying with everyone else, hoping to see Anakin, as it became apparent to Plagueis that Anakin was created by Plagueis through manipulation of the Force and the midichlorians. But by the time he arrived, Anakin was not there, as he had already been taken to the Jedi Council. There are just so many great Easter eggs throughout this entire book, and I highly recommend you read it if you haven't. James Luceno tells a phenomenal story about the rise of the Sith through the ranks of politics and how the Empire was slowly being formed well before the events of the Phantom Menace. But what were your thoughts on Darth Plagueis? Did you read it when it first came out, or did you end up reading it later on? Let us know your favorite moment from the book down in the comments below. And if you have another Legends book that you'd like us to review, please leave it down in the comments. As always, thank you to everyone who stuck around to this point in the video, and we hope to see you again very soon.